our culture is do the right thing. Like, and it's a sad state of where I think a lot of businesses are today that's innovative.
All right, let me just give a quick intro and we'll start in earnest. Yeah. Hello, I'm Ryan and this is EntreParenter. Today I'm lucky enough to be sitting with Paul and Kari Osterhaus, owners of QOC Innovations. Paul and Kari, thank you for joining us here at EntreParenter.
Thanks for having us.
So to start off with, and you can arm wrestle as to who you want to answer this.
I think I'll lose.
Help us understand QOC's founding and its ascent to where it is, and give a little context on your familial makeup and situation leading into those moments of startup.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's such a long story, but so we have 4 kids, and they were all still at home when we started this. One was gone.
One was gone.
One was gone when we started this. She was off at college, and we decided that, we had talked about it in the past. We had talked about starting our own business. I was a physical therapist originally many years ago, and then I stayed home with the kids for a while. And then when I was ready to go back to work, I wasn't ready for a patient schedule. And so I took a job at a manufacturing company where Paul was working, and doing an ERP implementation, project management. And a few years after that, we were ready to make the jump, but we had already talked about it. And I don't know, what would you...
It just felt natural at the time. Like it felt like...
It did. It wasn't like this major...
No. We had kind of prepared, I would say in many different ways. We had prepared, a little bit financially. We had prepared through things that we had each done in our career. Mm-hmm. I felt like our family was in a spot that we could do it, and just it felt like the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
So had you guys, as a pair, had you contemplated owning your own business in the abstract years or decades before?
We had probably 10, 12 years before.
10, 12 years before. And
candidly, we talked about it. We made a plan. Like, we had a great idea.
Yeah.
But healthcare insurance wasn't really we didn't have an option.
Our son was a cancer survivor. We couldn't get health insurance. So we just said this wasn't the time. Yeah. So it wasn't, we had to have health insurance. It wasn't an option, and nobody would broker that for us. So we decided to just keep on going.
Yeah. Well, that's a very real compromise, right? So that original idea you thought may have had wheels, is that still a valid or viable idea? Is it still in your back pocket, or is that window closed and you just moved on?
I think there's still opportunities there, but right now with what we're doing, we're so busy that
this is successful enough that it takes enough time.
This is above and beyond any of our dreams of what we thought we could accomplish. So we don't actually think about that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you start QOC, as far as who were the primary elements? How many employees did you start with on day one?
One employee.
One employee. And how far did that get you before you needed employee number 2? And maybe talk through, what were your conversations? You're both full-time with the company, as I understand. How did that morph into being?
Yeah, so we left.
So one employee, that means us plus one. So there were 3 of us.
Okay.
There were 3 of us.
Okay, so two founders, one employee.
We kind of pulled the plug.
We call him a founder.
Yeah. He's an employee, but he's a founding member of starting QOC.
I mean, you two are founders.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call him a founder too, the third guy.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We do.
Yeah.
We do, because we couldn't have made it without him. Sure. He jumped ship the same time.
So we quit our jobs.
Okay.
So I had quit a few months earlier. And then Paul and Travis were still.
But the writing was on the wall too. Like, I was running a manufacturing firm. COVID had hit. the bottom had dropped out of it. Like there's a lot of uncertainty in a weird way. I don't know. Now I look at it now and go, how in the world did we feel comfortable doing it then? But we did.
I think there were a lot of things. I mean, a big driver over the years has been Paul's employer has not been like multiple. Like, there's a lot of not nice employers out there. Really, that's just the reality of life. And I think that's why we always kind of, there are a lot of good.
There's a lot of good too, but not everybody has the same moral compass that you may have. They may have.
Some people are just not nice.
Some people have different objectives than you have, right? And I didn't always fit the corporate culture.
And he didn't spend his whole career in manufacturing. So maybe you should tell your background a little bit.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time, my undergrad's IT, so I did a lot of development, spend my time kind of in that course, got into architecture, eventually found myself meeting business leaders, executives, not having the business context for those conversations, decided to do an MBA in supply chain, went off and did that, came back, and then I went from kind of owning all the systems to getting into a consulting role. Did that for a number of years where I was in the retail supply chain consulting. And then my kids got old enough, I felt like I wanted to be off the road. I was going to miss every activity. And so I took a job running a manufacturer. And from that, and then we got to that day where we said we're gonna do this. And candidly, when we first started QOC, all of my MBA professors would have failed me in my start of QOC because we didn't have the perfect business plan. We didn't have the perfect financial model. We felt like we should do this. I think it was a bit of I know it was inspiration. And we sat around the table every day and we said, how are we going to make ends meet? What are we going to do? And we did a little manufacturing. We did a little consulting. We always had our eye towards this space, but it takes funds and time and etc. And so we
had a little bit more of a plan. We were going to start with manufacturing, so we had some equipment ordered, and things like that. But we didn't really know what we were doing.
So the initial idea wasn't actually software consultancy then?
No.
Well, there was a bit of that when we were doing business consulting almost immediately.
We were we were looking for a system to run our business. And we found the software that we use now. And we said, Paul was aware of it. He'd been aware of it in his searches in the past careers
I'd watch it a bit.
For ERP systems. Mm-hmm. And he said, wow, it's matured. This is pretty cool. We looked at it, and the three of us had been the main people for an ERP implementation at the manufacturing company, and we all three said, yeah, this is pretty cool. I bet we know some people who could use this. So I would say we started consulting within 2 months, 3 months?
3 months.
Pretty quickly.
Consulting. And that was in the days of COVID, so you couldn't go knock doors. Those are just people that we knew that came to us and said, hey, can you help us? That's how we got our start.
And at what point did you pair up with Odoo, your primary product?
About 3 months.
Right away. We started in the beginning of July, and I think we signed our partner contract at the end of August.
Did that partnership, was Odoo a level of enthusiastic partner or vendor to you at a level that it kind of subsidized your startup in a way, maybe not exactly monetarily or maybe through non-cash benefits, or was it like
it was a balance.
Your partnership, but you're buying
balance.
what they're selling and that's about it?
It's a balance, right? Because
they help a little bit.
They helped a little bit, right? We had some good opportunities with them, but I was really nervous to hitch because I'd worked in technology for a long time, right? And I remember the first time I had a conversation with Odoo, they were trying to sell me, become a partner, and I was like, I'm not hitching QOC to any technology, right? And as we got to learn the technology more and more, we found that that it was truly open source. It was flexible. We could adapt it to our customers' needs without it just being this overly burdensome process. Then I was like, well, yeah, this was something I could hitch my wagon to, and so that's where it started. But it wasn't like they were. We sold a good sized contract, pretty early on our Odoo journey. But it wasn't like they were just handing us work. We had to work for it. We had to do our own thing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'd add to that, doing this in this journey, it wasn't my first time as a consultant. I'd been a consultant before. I had done sales calls. I had done all these things. So I kind of learned it on somebody else's dime, if you will. I mean, as a job. So in some ways, QOC has been the product of my career.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, one of the things I loved about being a consultant is I would go in and out, help organizations. Often my specialty is coming in on failed projects, but I got to learn what I liked about what I would meet with these leaders, and I'd really admire something about them, right? I'd be like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna take that with me, right? Or I'd see something, I'd be like, whew, not ever going to be like that person, right? So this has really become the product of that journey.
I think it's a product for me too, which might sound strange, but in healthcare, there's patient care. As a physical therapist, I did a lot of patient care, and there are a lot of similarities between that and having customers.
I'd add a lot more to that, right? So, and this meant a lot to me at the time, and it describes our relationship and how we work together. So, when I was in graduate school, it was fairly intense, and I had a lot of case studies, and there was a joke that all I do is sit on the couch on my computer and study, because that's all I was doing. And Kari started picking up my cases and reading them. And she knew my schedule, and we would have, at night, instead of me sitting on the couch, we would have conversations about them. And we would talk about them, and it became part of our relationship.
So we did really,
Did the MBA together?
We did it together. We changed the kids' schedule. We put the kids to bed at 7.
How many kids did you have through the MBA program?
Two. Put the kids to bed at 7, and we studied till midnight. That was our routine.
And it was awesome.
And so, yes,
we've built on that
the
the rest of our marriage. We've built on that the rest,
yeah.
That's how it works today. It's not new for us to work together or to debate something or have different points of view on it. That's okay. We both respect each other's. Kari has strengths that I don't have. I have strengths that she doesn't have. That's okay, right? And so I think we get the best product when we work together.
Can you talk about that a little more? Tell me more about that. Tell me what your domestic responsibility split was early and mid through marriage, and then as you were confronted with, hey, we're going to go into this business together, what is your segregation of duties, and did you hit it right the first time on that segregation, or have you I hate this, you take this, I'll take the other thing, because either works out better for me, or works out better for the customer, or works out better for the employee, because I hate that job?
Yeah, so we're not big believers in defined roles. And
that's even true at QOC.
And that's true at QOC.
Okay. There's no VP of operations.
So
what does it mean? You gotta.
Yeah.
So then the question is, what is the underlying philosophy that you have formally or informally agreed to by virtue of your relationship, and how do you pass that on to your employees? Because the work needs to get done, right?
You roll up your sleeves and you get to work, and you stop worrying about whose job it is and whether that's your role and whose title is what. And I think that applies to the family as well as to the business.
Absolutely.
And we intentionally have very few titles here. There are no VPs. There are no directors. We don't even use the title of CEO or CFO, because everybody's better be here ready to roll up their sleeves and get to work. And our HR person has helped facilitate that attitude in who she brings in for us to interview. And when you can start gathering that, then everybody's happy because they do all want to work together.
But I think that totally crosses over to our family. Like,
Yeah.
I could go like to 2 points in our lives. Like, we're not good cooks right now. Like, we're too busy. Like, there's a downside of the business right now. We're not great at cooking, right? But when we were in graduate school, we made everything. We penny pinched down to the, like, we learned how to make homemade tortillas, and we were making bread, and we made everything because we had time when we didn't have money, right? When we started the business, it was in our home every day. Like, one of us would start cooking dinner. We had these wonderful home cooked meals because that was a way we could save money. So, but it wasn't Kari cooking it, it wasn't me cooking it was us together. Like, who doesn't have a meeting at 3 that could start dinner?
And I think there's been that flexibility all along. Like, when Paul was in graduate school, I did most of the cooking, right? He didn't get home in time. After we had a baby, Paul did most of the cooking. Like, I'm pretty sure after our first baby, he cooked for at least a year, maybe 2. So I think just being able to drop those expectations of, whose job it is, just roll up your sleeves.
Do the right thing.
Throw the load of laundry in, we're big proponents of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. When Michelle and I were starting our business, the startup itself didn't pan out how we expected. We thought our employees would be much more bilingual than when they were. And it turns out that the community just couldn't supply enough bilingual people for what we needed. And so we had hired someone, we couldn't get a license fast enough. The person we hired to be the director of the school had to go find other work. And so Michelle stepped into that role, and that wasn't our initial plan. But she really stepped up to the plate and did a great job. But as time went on, I ended up going back to a professional position and moonlighting for the business once we got cash flow neutral. As the years went by, I realized, hey, we're not increasing our prices. And I talked to Michelle about, hey, let's increase our prices. And she'd say, okay. And then it wouldn't happen because that was not her comfort level. She didn't like the money. And she had already taken on more things than what we had initially planned. And so as she was dealing with HR issues and training issues and that sort of thing, I realized I had to step up to take that off her plate because really it wasn't going to happen. And a lot of that was, and this is not a dig on her in any way, she was doing plenty. But even if she wasn't doing those things, she was not comfortable charging people more money. She didn't want to tell them they had to pay us more.
Conversation.
And so that definitely became my thing because I had no problem telling people, hey, we have a reality here, to your point about sustainability, and we need to raise prices. And so that just became my job. And so, but that's cool that between the two of you or the three of you or whatever, the whole team, you can recognize. I guess you have some sort of coordination meeting, right? What do your weekly team meetings go? You have some team meetings to evaluate, make sure everything's
stand up every
well.
morning.
Yeah.
That we just talk about what's on the plate, and then we have a business review.
And there are things like that where I hate asking people for money too. And I was really happy to get rid of that job.
Oh, so that's definitively not yours then?
That's definitively not mine.
Is that yours, Paul, or did you hire somebody to do?
We hired somebody now.
We both did it. I really hated
I think
it.
it's a journey, though, of owning your own business like this. Like, I remember distinctly when we hired Shelley, who's in charge of HR. Like, and to that point, I'd say you hit a lot of that burden.
Yes, I did a lot of
But
that.
it was just like we were doing our day jobs and we're doing that at night, and we just, like, we couldn't afford to hire somebody, so you're doing the best you can, right? And then all of a sudden that time comes and you're like, hey, I think we got to take something off our plates. Let's find somebody. And it was like the day after she started, I was like, oh,
Such a great day.
thank you. Right? It's like,
Such a great day.
yes.
And in retrospect, do you think you could have pulled that off 6 months earlier? Or?
No.
No.
You did it. So you did it as soon as you.
I felt like, but I think that there's
I think we were looking for the right person too. Like we
but we've
were
always
very
been
careful about that.
very conservative.
Yes.
Like, we're not, we have not, I mean, we bootstrapped this whole business. Like, so we don't have any outside, we have 70 employees in 5 years. Like, we've had to just muscle through some of it at times. That was, it would have been way more comfortable to go get some investor to give us money that we could just go hire everybody out of the gate. That would have been super comfortable, I think, in some ways.
In some ways, it would be super comfortable, but I am very debt averse.
We both are.
We both are, always have been, and I think the thought of doing that and then having to report to somebody else was exactly what we were trying to get away from when we started the business. So it seemed, for us, it wasn't right. For some businesses, it's the right thing to do. For us, it wasn't.
And you can do it. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to do hard things. Like, I'll go back to when our oldest son had cancer. I worked a full-time job, and Kari was pregnant with our fourth child, and I stayed with him every night. I can remember the day I got 4 hours of sleep, and I was like, wow, that is amazing. Right? And there's been times like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've worked every hour of the day. Right? You can do hard things. And, a lot of people look at us now and say, oh, well, of course you should have started QOC. Of course you're doing really well. And it's an easy decision. Well, in the moment,
weren't.
It wasn't. I remember telling my oldest daughter when she was off to college, and she's like, what are you doing? Dad, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Maybe talk about some of those leaps of faith. I know for myself, having been self-employed at some level for 15 years,
Yeah.
there's a tremendous amount of intrinsic value in defining your own schedule, how you spend your time, how you allocate your value across whatever you're trying to accomplish, because with no debt or no obligations to other people, because you're the perfect person to evaluate what are all the costs to this decision. And I know that this decision is really only going to impact me or my family. No one else has a say in it. And that freedom of being in a self-employment or business ownership role, at least for me, and I think for the vast majority of entrepreneurs, has a lot of value. To what extent were you chasing a little bit of that? But also, what was the leap of faith in deciding to go for it? Can you talk a little bit about, either in specific or general terms, about how much your startup phase cost you in cash, or how many months of savings you were willing to burn through before you were going to have that, things have not gone how we expected? Had you had any parachute sort of talks of, we're going to give this 6 months, we're going to give this 12 months, we're going to give this whatever, but if the writing on the wall really shows up loud and clear, then what are we going to do? Can you talk through some of those hurdles that maybe either came up or didn't come up, and what you were prepared to sacrifice in pursuit of this?
So you're assuming a lot of planning that we really didn't do with that question.
There's an honesty.
Maybe I'm revealing
But-
more about me than...
But I will say, so it's a little different when you're our age than when you're younger, right?
And can you just give us, what were your ages when you actually
40,
pulled this trigger?
45.
45, I think.
Okay.
You know yourself better, and you've had more experience with faith to take the leap. I think that the other thing for us is we each individually are very hard workers. And the third person that came with us is also a very hard worker. We all have skills outside of what we were doing to fall back on. So if it didn't work out, just go get a job, right? Like,
That was our theme. Like, I had people, friends say, like, what, again, just like my daughter, like, what are you doing? And I was like, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get a job. It's like, that a big deal. I mean, we had enough money to pay for, housing, and we have a farm on the side that we sold hay and put food on the table, and
but we didn't, I mean, let's be honest, we didn't take paychecks for 6 months.
yeah.
Travis didn't take a paycheck for 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So, it's a while. We had savings, we had hay, we
Did everything we could to
worked.
make some money.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right?
didn't spend any money.
We didn't spend any money. It's like living below your means is so important. Like, if you can't, if from my perspective, we never could have done this if we wouldn't been able to just clamp it down and just say, you know what,
Yeah.
we're just going to just get through the basics.
And would you say living below your means, it sounds like you would practice that.
Oh, yeah.
My experience is living below your means is not a skill you can jump into in a crisis very easily.
I agree.
Well, we did that when we went back to the MBA program. We didn't have a job for
That's true, but we had already done it. I mean, when I was in graduate school,
We did it
we
then.
did it. And
we survived one of our kids with cancer who, I mean, the pharmacy bill was another mortgage. I mean, if we had been extended, there would have been no way we could have made it.
so, but I agree, it's not, it's something you practice. It's a
Yeah.
skill that's developed over time. And that's another advantage of being our age, right? And we've already, at 45, you've already collected, you have pillows and beds and, all the things you need for a family. You've already collected the dressers and all that kind of stuff. And
So that when you move into your car, it's really comfortable inside the car you're living in.
Exactly.
so I do think that it was just okay, we go back into clamp down mode and we're not spending, and we just kind of resurrect those old skills, and if it doesn't work out, we go get a job.
But there certainly has been times. So even after, when we first, within, I don't know, when did we sign our first big customer? 6 months in, 4 months in? We signed our first big customer. That's when we,
And was that an entity you had a pre-existing relationship
No.
with? So there was truly a new
New customer.
relationship, new
New
entity,
customer, right.
green. Okay.
never would have signed that customer if I hadn't had the background I had, right?
We never would have been successful
We
with that
just-
customer
just
if
never-
we hadn't had Paul's
because of all
background.
my experience consulting.
And
before.
they understood they were customer number one, essentially. First big
They weren't
customer.
not big
weren't.
customer. They understood they were
They knew we were young.
when they were young. They weren't first customer, but when we took this customer on, we ended up having to hire 2 to 3 other people. 2 to 3 other people.
Yeah.
This went
Yeah, we
on,
hired 3.
and
Not all at the same time, but over
Kinda
the next
gradually.
6 months.
we had a couple little side projects, but they were like 80% of our revenue, right? And this went on for a year, right? We were just kind of stagnant, the same size, 4-year, profitable. It was great, and we all knew it was going to come to an end someday, right? there was a decision in my brain, like when we ended, that we could have just pulled the plug and walked away and said, all good. We got to do this for a year. We were highly successful. Let's be done. Right. That was another moment of faith for me to say, okay, because now it's not just the
I'm not
three
sure
of
I
us.
knew about that moment.
Yeah, it was there for me for sure.
Because the pipeline was that thin,
We didn't have time.
or all your energies were gone to servicing.
Everything was there. We didn't develop a pipeline. We had we just, it takes luck, right?
Yeah.
It takes luck and skill. Our luck was we struck a good deal early on, right? And so there's this moment of like, how are we going to get across this chasm, right? And do we have the faith? And for me, that was a test. And there's been other of those, like we've started building the business, and then we had to get to a point where we had to hire 5 people at once.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew.
But I want to go back to, yes, when we had that customer, you knew it wouldn't last forever. And apparently that was a big leap of faith for you. But you planned for that. Like you started addressing that long before that project
tried.
closed, with
From a revenue perspective or from a cost management perspective?
from a revenue perspective.
Well, let's talk
And-
cost management too, though. We're still running the business. At that point, we removed a couch out of the living room and put another table there. Right? We're still
literally at the kitchen table
like,
and the second kitchen table.
we called it the adult table.
Yeah,
and
the adult table
and the kids table. But
I sat at the kids table.
But again, in our theme of just like our really only cost was labor.
Yeah.
Like we didn't go out and get an office. We didn't.
Labor,
didn't-
computers. Yeah.
We bought used computers.
We did. We did. In fact, some of our employees brought their own computers and we bought them from our employees. And then,
So
I guess for what you're doing, it was almost all cloud work anyway. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't need a centralized server. You didn't.
No, we just needed.
And nothing was really top secret. You didn't have to. Security wasn't a huge issue. I'm assuming.
There were some aspects.
it
of
was, but we just decided not to worry about it.
Well, some of us worried a little bit more than others.
All's well that ends well.
In hindsight, it worked out great.
Yeah.
So how long were you bootstrapping out of the house? What was the next big iteration of QOC? And what's the QOC? What does QOC even mean?
We're not that creative.
Yes, we are. But not
QOC.
around our
Quiet
name.
on the couch, or
What do manufacturers compete on? Quality, on
quality.
time, and cost.
okay.
So that's
Well
what-
done. Well done.
That's what we do. So how long?
So we were in the house for 2 years.
2
and
years.
then we built an addition on our shed because we needed a little bit.
Again, I was being cheap. I was like, I can put an addition on the shed. I'm not ready to take a lease out and that kind of commitment. We're going to be here for 5 years for sure, right? I'm thinking. We didn't even last
a year.
a year. And we're growing at a rate that we said, okay, we'll sign a lease on a building. And I still have to admit that was a big commitment for me. Maybe I have commitment issues, but that was like, I'm gonna lease a building.
No,
Okay.
lease. If you're not scared of a lease that's not month to month,
Yeah.
you're blissfully ignorant of the downside
Yeah.
of lease signing.
Yeah. And so it just feels like we signed the lease on the building and we didn't do it a day too early. And it's just been a pretty steady growth. Not a pretty steady, a very steady growth. And so, now our roles are changing from day-to-day operations to coaching and, ensuring that we have clear vision and that we're maintaining our culture and we're maintaining, the quality, and it's a whole different world than what it was back in the beginning.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier meal prep. Talk a little bit about how your family life has changed as part of this journey. I'll go first. In 2018, we were in the thick of a growth phase, and I was going through our bank records, and our family patronized Little Caesars 76 times and Culver's 62 times in
Yes.
1 year.
Yeah.
And I won't even name all the other restaurants that got it's
between
their
there.
own, right? How has life changed for you at the house? How are you still striving to be family first in the midst of success? Because stress comes from uncertainty and failure, but stress also comes from too much opportunity or just enough opportunity. But the question is, right, how do you scale? Scaling isn't always linear. It's usually very stepwise. You bite off a chunk and then everything goes wild or terrible, and then you either bite another chunk and you adapt in these very jerky sort of things. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, like, and I've experienced both. I've been in businesses where it's been a downturn and an upturn. I would choose upturn any day.
you
Right.
recommend
I
income.
recommend going the right way. But that doesn't come without a lot of stress, right? It doesn't come with a lot. Like, it's very hard. One of the things we're really working hard here is maturing the business on our planning and forecasting, making sure that we have better visibility and we can make decisions by not just, well, I think we should do this. What's driving that? But I want to go back to family. Like, one of the greatest blessings that this has been, and I tell my kids all the time, like, this is not normal. Don't expect just to start a business and in 5 years you're going to have 70 people and it's going to be growing and fabulous, right? I fully recognize that we have been blessed beyond measure, right? But for my kids to have, especially the ones that are at home, to have watched us and heard the conversations, and even today, we'll be at home talking about a business thing, and I can just watch them sit down on the couch, they'll just quietly listen, right? They're absorbing this like a sponge. And I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I love that they are actively participating. We have one that's on a mission right now. And when we do get to talk to him, one of his first questions is, how are you guys doing? How's the business? Right? They're invested in it. They had to sacrifice too, right? They had to have people in their home every day. They came home from school and there were people in their home,
Yeah.
right? So,
And not fun, other fun teenagers. It's
Yeah.
boring adults.
boring adults who,
Was there a stressor with, hey, when you get home from school, you can't make any noise because we may be on a call, or like, you can be up in your room, but don't invade
absolutely.
the space because this is a workplace. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
how long did it take them to learn those boundaries?
Oh, they were
They were
They
pretty
old
good
enough
at
to.
The dogs
they were
struggled.
more shy about it than we had to be concerned about it.
But our other blessing is we started the business during COVID. It was okay if your dog was barking. I remember before COVID, if you got on a conference call and somebody's dog barked, you were like, what's wrong with them? They have a dog barking in the background? And during COVID, it was like,
How unprofessional.
yes.
Yeah.
And during COVID, it was like, oh, what's your dog's name? Right? It was acceptable. And so
And they knew your kids were home, right?
so we didn't have to, part of the blessing we had is we didn't have to be
Polished.
polished. It was acceptable in COVID to not be polished. And so we just rode the unpolished road.
But I think there are some other things. You know, we started doing hay with our kids very young, and farm work with our kids very young, and so working together as a family was not new. And then
And the ups and downs of it too. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't Dad deciding to cut hay this week. It was Dad saying, hey guys, what do you think? Check the forecast. Let's all think about it. Let's pray about it. Let's like, what do you think we should do? And then we would decide, and it might get rained on.
it did get rained on.
And we get
a lot.
disappointed. We'd all be disappointed by it. Well, that was a good crop we just lost, right?
But I think that was all good preparation. But even then, it wasn't a surprise because we involved our kids a lot in the business. You know, at first it was make sure the bathrooms are clean and the garbage is taken out, and then it was, okay, we're building a building, and you know, our kid's the one up laying the trusses and with his missionary tag on because he was doing home MTC, which I'm sure was against a lot of rules, but he did a great job. And then we hired a couple of them, and they've done construction work here at the building. When we moved here, we needed
So you did some of your own TIs then?
Oh,
Or all of them? Almost all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then they were actually working in the business, doing a little data entry and hearing our conversations, and our daughter started helping us with the website.
Yeah.
And then in the end, we actually hired one of our sons as a consultant. He was fantastic, and it was so fun.
He was a senior in high school, and he had his own customers that he was helping with their ERP system. And I was like, and I remember when he asked me, he said, I want to do an internship. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, do you have Excel skills or what? And
Do you even Excel, bro?
so I had to eat a lot of that words there because he kept saying, huh, Dad, what am I going to do, huh?
But I do think it can be used as an opportunity for the kids to develop skills and to learn new things. One of our sons is starting his own little side business, and now he's looking at using Odoo as his ERP to invoice his customers and things. And our daughter did some marketing. She learned some marketing skills, and she worked at a lab and showed the lab how they could use it for their inventory and things like that. And so I think when you can pull them in and help them learn skills and see some of their own strengths, it takes the edge off of, I mean, it's still hard, don't get me wrong, it's hard for the kids, right? But it shows them that their parents know how to work, and it takes the edge off of some of what they're
But
missing
get them to
out on.
participate too. Get them involved, right? I still ask them questions like, hey, what would you do? Right? I want their input. Yeah.
Now, this is not an impartial sample. So given the fact that your kids have experienced parents starting a business that has been successful,
Yeah.
how do you think they would characterize the experience? Do you think would they say, I liked it better before the business from a home life standpoint, or I liked it better after Kiyoshi came into the picture?
I think now, well, I don't know.
That's
I
a
don't know
hard
if they would say if
question.
it was better or worse. I know.
I don't think we've really
Because they're kind of apples and oranges, because if you were on
Right.
the road a lot with the previous gig
Yeah.
or gigs.
Well, we
you're
had
not-
a space where he was at home. They don't actually remember him. Well, maybe the older two do.
Yeah.
The younger two don't really remember.
I think it's a
him.
balance. I think there's some things about it that they would say is better, but I don't think they have regret. I think they.
No, nobody's ever said, I wish you hadn't done this. So I think that's
Well, they
good.
wait till they're 40 to say that.
That's true. That's probably it.
Sometimes teenagers don't wait.
But there's also the side of it of I've been able to coach basketball for some of their teams. I've been able to go to their games. I've been able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do before. Because like you mentioned earlier, because I have, if I want to leave now, I can leave. Like nobody's telling me that. I mean,
I do think the other thing, just from a parenting perspective and teenage, developmental perspective, kids cycle around, right? And sometimes they might hate it, and other times they might like it, and then they might hate it again, and then they might like it again. And so I think that if you try to involve them, I mean, for us, how it's worked, and it's not going to work this way for everybody. We have
Absolutely.
tried to make them part of it. We've tried to compensate their work when we could and show appreciation, help them be involved in decisions, and it's worked out well for us.
yeah.
Thank you. goodness.
My two oldest kids, I was able to rope them into helping me with my real estate investing. I had a commercial building and had commercial tenants and these sorts of things, and that was great. Our second business, they were not simpatico, unfortunately. But as we start winding things down here, maybe can you comment on? We've already acknowledged that some unique circumstances of COVID and how luck plays a role. Luck plays a role in every business.
Correct.
And I wish more influencers would acknowledge that more overtly. Time, place, birth privileges, what have you, all sorts of things play into that sort of thing. So in the interest of providing realistic value to the listeners of this interview, what do you think of your experience, either of the parts you shared or parts you haven't shared yet? What do you feel is replicable for people who want to take a family-first approach to meeting out their livelihood, figuring that out? What of your experience is replicable for them, even in this AI-laden, crazy economic, inflation-soured environment? What do you think they can rely on from an effort standpoint? And what maybe do you want to counsel them about? Don't plan on this. This was probably unique to us, or this, we got lucky here. And do your best to... Here's some contingencies we probably wish we would have foreseen that...
That's a hard one. I think, for me at least, I think talk to your kids about it. Involve them as much as possible. Give them opportunities. And I think when we do that, we have a better shot of maybe not a good professional outcome, but at least a good family outcome, no matter what the professional outcome is. Because if your goal is family first, then it's family first whether the professional result is good or bad. So that's one thing that comes to mind. I think having a backup plan, one thing I've always been grateful for Paul is his next 2 jobs are already in his head. And we've gone through layoff. He got laid off and he had a job within a week because he already had a plan. And so I think that when you have a backup plan and your family knows your backup plan, whether that's go get a job or, whatever that is, or we have this much savings and this is our date when we're making the decision by, I think there's a lot of comfort that comes along with that and makes the risk a little easier to swallow.
I liked those. Maybe I'll take more of a business approach to that answer. 2 things come to my mind. Listen to your customers. Talk to them. Get honest feedback. And be willing to receive that and to adjust. Like I said before, I would have failed my MBA classes because they would have told me, at least when I went through, that I had to have a business plan and I had to have a financial plan and I had to have goals and I had to have actions and, it was all supposed to be laid out in front of me. And the reality is, I feel like we always course correct, fail often but early. Don't make your failures big. Change your course, adjust it, whatever that needs to be to what's going to work for you, and what works for me could be different for you, right? It's not all going to be the same. And I think there are a lot of businesses, I think there's a lot of opportunities. There's 10 more opportunities in my head right now that if I had time, I would go execute, right? I think there are still, even in the economy and everything that's going on, I think there's still a lot of really good opportunities out there. And my second thing is, along with that plan, is we never define success in a number. whether it was a number of employees, whether it was a revenue number. We define success of, obviously, you have to look at your, can we eat? There has to be financial, like, there has to be a financial component to it. You have to not lose money, at least. But we didn't say, hey, if we're at 10 million in the first 5 years, we're a failure, right? Because sometimes when you set those goals, it's locked in, and if you don't make it, you failed, right? In some way. And don't be fair on yourself, right? Like it's sometimes, I mean, you can look at us and he was like, well, the first year, we just kind of plodded on a very flat line, right? It took us 3-4 years before we're like, okay, this is actually really going, like, I remember.
It didn't take us that long.
3 years? Whatever it was. I remember coming home and going, I think this is going to work. It was like a year and a half. Like we were
It was probably a year.
we always kind of had a contingency. We always had a backup plan. And I remember coming home and going, this might actually work.
Yeah.
That was our approach.
Nice. Any final words of wisdom you guys want to impart to the crowd?
No, because I think, I mean, everybody's situation is different. And so I kind of shy away from pretending that I have all wisdom about it.
I'll let you off the hook. The question is, how would you encourage someone to consider this road?
I would say if you've got a good team, if you have a good partner, and you've got a good idea, why not give it a try? What's the worst that can happen, right? If you've structured it so that you have a backup plan, ideally you're not gonna, lose your house or something like that. Why not? Why not? What's the worst that can happen? You have to go get a job. Okay, that's where you are now. So, but it's always, I don't know, easier to say that on the other side.
It is.
It is scary.
Just go do it. It'll be all right. Fail often, but early.
Yeah.
Like, don't, just have confidence, but be humble.
Be
And
humble.
I think what you're sensing from us is we don't run this business as a dictatorship. We get everybody's ideas. We're always trying to learn every day what we can do differently to improve our experience for our customers, to be better employers, to hire better people. Like everything that we do, we're trying to get better at. So
I think too, we have always verbally acknowledged how blessed we are, and that, God has helped us. And I think that doesn't save a business, but I do think there's a lot of good that comes from that. Acknowledging that you've received help, heavenly help, if you believe in heaven or, whatever a higher power that you may believe in. But then also treating the people around you the same way, whether it's your family or your employees, being grateful for the blessing that they are. That goes a long way to making things successful.
How would your employees characterize the culture of QOC? And what % of the current culture has been intentionally instantiated by the two of you, and what percentage has just emerged organically from the minds of the people you've chosen to hire?
You want to go first on that one?
I think our employees would define our culture as one of teamwork, I'm going to go back to what I said a couple times, doing the right thing and wanting to help people, right? because that's what we do. We service and help businesses be better, right? And one of innovation. And so that culture starts with us, right? Like, I don't know how else it couldn't. That's where it's established. And I think, we try to hire a very diverse workforce, but one of the rules that we have around hiring people is if we wouldn't enjoy going out to dinner with them, we're not going to hire them. Right? It's got to be somebody who wants to learn, who wants to have a conversation, who can be part of that culture. That's important to us.
I think our employees would describe it as a very collaborative environment. And I think that goes back to what I said at the beginning about kind of role divisions and the lack of them here. And that is something that we have, that and innovation have intentionally been fostered from the very beginning. And part of that goes back to Paul's former careers and work that he had done managing teams and training teams and working collaboratively and being able to look back at the different kinds of teams he had and hone in on the most successful teams where, he had a group at one point, they still come back. They still get to, talk, and they still have a special bond, even though they're all working in different places, living in different states. And so that has been very intentional, and our hiring practices reflect that deliberately.
Well, I think one of the things that we offer to our employees is we have people. We hire some out of school. We hire some people out of industry, and we hire some people that have experience in software, right, or have experience in Odoo, right. But particularly I'll pick on the one that comes from industry. Maybe people have been working in industry. They're tired of the grind. Mm-hmm. They're tired of okay, what are you going to do before me this month, right? And they want to work in a team setting, helping people. Mm-hmm. They want to be in that kind of innovative, let's think about this differently. Let's solve. I was on a call today with a company. They're $500 million, and they've outgrown. They've really not a solid accounting system, and they're growing like crazy. And we're trying to figure out how we can best help them. Right? It takes a team of experienced people with good ideas, willing to be open and brainstorm and think through that, and it's safe. It's a safe environment, and that's what's fun to me. It's good.
Well, sounds like a great place to be.
It's pretty fun. Pretty fun.
A lot of fun.
Well, Kari and Paul, thank you so much for visiting us here at EntreParenter. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.